Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam.
Mataji, Danvat Pranam. How are you, Mataji?
I'm good, Mataji. What about you?
I'm very fine, thank you, Mataji. I'm just having, this thing has frozen. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for making yourself available and joining this group. Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 18. And today the text is text 21. Chapter 18 is Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmin boy. Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody who have joined the group and are about to join. I hand over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Text 21. The Sanskrit is like this. Athapi yat pada nakhavashashistam jagat virinchapoha tarahanamba sesham punati anyatno mukundat odam aloke bhagavat padartha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord, or the personality of God is Shri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganga, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. You can read the purport, Mata.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The conception of many gods in the Vedic literature by the ignorant is completely wrong. The Lord is one without a second, but he expands himself in many ways, and this is confirmed in the Vedas. Such expansions of the Lord are limitless, but some of them are the living entities. The living entities are not as powerful as the Lord's plenary expansion, and therefore there are two different types of expansions. Lord Brahma is generally one of the living entity, and Lord Shiva is the via medium between the Lord and the living entities. In other words, even demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who are the chief amongst all demigods, are never equal to or greater than the Lord, Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and all-powerful demigods like Brahma and Shiva are engaged in the worship of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Therefore, who can be more powerful than Mukunda, Lord Krishna, to be faculty called the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are not independently powerful. They are powerful as expansions of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and so also are the living entities. There are 4 sects of worshipful devotees of the Lord, and the chief amongst them are the Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, descending directly from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, respectively. Besides the above-mentioned 3 Sampradayas, there is Kumara Sampradaya, descending from Sanata Kumar. All of the 4 original Sampradayas are still scrupulously engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord up to date. They are all declared that the Lord Krishna, Mukunda, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no other personality is equal to him or greater than him. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, over to you.
Yeah. Narayan namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiriyeta nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata seviya bhagavate yutam shloke bhakti bhavtinashtaki Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So verse for today is, who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord, but the personality of God is Shri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganga, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. So this verse actually eulogizes Krishna as supreme. And also we get some message that Brahma collected the water, which is the river Ganges, and then it was brought down to Shiva, and then from Shiva down to the earth. We can read about how she appeared in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how the sons of King Sagara, when Dashramed Yajna was done, when they tried to look for a horse, and they went into many directions. In this way, the world became full of oceans by the hoofs of their cows. That's why the oceans are called Sagar. And the horse was standing next to Kapila, who was in deep meditation. So they thought this sacrificial horse has been installed by this particular yogi. And when Kapila Muni opened his eyes, they all burned to ashes. And people tried to look for the sons, but the only answer they got was from Kapila Muni is, if you bring the river Ganga from the Vaikuntha down here, if this water goes over these dead sons of yours, they can become alive. And the son of Sagara, Amshuman, and then others, till Bhagirath was successful, and he was able to bring water. But the river Ganga said, the force will be so strong that it will pierce the earth and it will go down to the lower planets. So he took the shelter of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva took the water on his head and then brought it down. So this is very nicely explained. The river Ganga is, in one way, not different from Krishna, because it's coming from the feet of Krishna. Just like from the mouth of Krishna comes Bhagavad Gita. Both are very, very powerful. And even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept two devotees. He told one devotee, I forget his name, that you shall worship the Jal. Jal means Ganga. And the other one is told to worship Daru. Daru means wooden Lord Jagannath. So in Kali Yuga, Lord Jagannath and Ganga are very, very worshipful. So in the Prabhupada Sri Prabhupada explains that many people who do not know much about the Vedic religion or the Hindu religion, they say you have too many gods. Who is God then? So this is the answer, that actually it's not like that. In a Vaishnava understanding, it's not a pantheism. We are monotheism. Monotheism means we believe in one supreme personality of God. And who is that supreme personality of God? It is Krishna. Is one without a second, no one equal to him. Asama Urdu for those who are writing. And he expands in many, many forms, many expansions. They are his direct expansions, which are called Vishnu Tattvas, are called Swamsha. And we are his separated expansions. We are known as Vivina Amshas, or separated from Krishna, having forgotten Krishna. But we living entities are never powerful like Krishna, whereas the Vishnu forms are all powerful like Krishna. So Brahma, you should know, is a Jiva Tattva, means a living entity, whereas Lord Shiva is neither a Jiva Tattva nor a Vishnu Tattva. He's in between. So Lord Shiva is a very special person. So the greatest demigods like Brahma or Shiva are not equal or independent of the holy name of Vishnu. That we should remember. In the morning when we speak 10 offenses before our japa. In the second offense, it says that one should to consider great demigods like Brahma or Shiva to be equal independent of the holy name of Vishnu is an offense already. Even the name Vishnu cannot be equal with the name of Brahma or Shiva. So they are all engaged in the service of Krishna, including Lakshmi ji. Though Lakshmi is very close, but she is not equal with Krishna. That you should remember. They are all serving Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabhavritya. Only Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Everyone else is his servant. So everyone is serving Krishna, one or another, whether it is Brahma or Shiva or Lakshmi ji or all other demigods. They are all serving Krishna, even in Vaikuntha and even in the material world. So no one can offer moksha, liberation, other than Krishna, because nobody is capable of doing so. Anybody knows that particular name of Krishna, who is called that name because he's the giver of moksha? Which name is that? Remember? I had given that name earlier, I think almost twice. Krishna is called Mukunda. If you're not writing, please write. Mukunda, the word Mukunda derives from two words, Mukti and then Data. Mukti means liberation, Data means the giver. If you combine, it becomes one word, Mukunda. So nobody can award salvation other than Mukunda. People who do not know the supreme position of Krishna may go to worship someone else and ask for moksha, but it is waste of time. Nobody can give you moksha other than Krishna. Sri Prabhupada gives a simple example. He says sometimes one may end up to be punished by the government due to some crime or due to some offense to the government, and you may be sentenced to death. At that time, if you are known to the president or the prime minister, only he can help you. And he can tell the judicial system that please don't hang him, but give him a life imprisonment. In the similar way, sometimes or most of the time, we are not very pure. We are very sinful. Or some or other, we have got some attraction from Krishna. Then Krishna can lift us up. Any one of you knows the fifth prayer of the sixth Shastakam? Anybody likes to try? Most of us speak daily. Which is the fifth prayer? The first words are A Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Krishna Atma, do you know it?
Yes, I can try. Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, just try.
Ayi Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishami Pavam Buddhao Kripaya Tava Pankaja Sadrisham
Sthita Duri Siddhartham
Sadrisham.
Vichem.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. You tried. That's good. Now the translation of this verse is, O son of Nanda Maharaj, that means Krishna, somehow or other I have landed into this material world. Kindly pick me up from here and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. So this humble prayer is spoken by Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. He says we should have that humble mood when we are chanting Hare Krishna, which will help us very much. That when you're chanting, you should know, for example, you're in Nairobi. In one area of Nairobi, like in the temple or near the temple, you are one very small, insignificant part of Nairobi. And imagine the whole world in front of you with so many continents. And this earth is only one planet. And then beyond these planets are many, many planets. And still beyond is Brahmaloka. Then there is Brahmajyoti, Kailash, and then Vaikuntha. Imagine this prayer is going beyond all this, connecting us to Krishna. This makes us very, very humble. There's one pastime I'd like to share of Sri Prabhupada disciple known as Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He was made a temple president. He became a bit too proud. And Sri Prabhupada wanted to bring his ego down. So how did he do it? He told Tamal Krishna Maharaj that, how big is the universe? He says, it's very big, many, many planets. He said, how many planets are in our universe? He said, 9. Which is our planet? He said, Earth. On Earth, which country are we? America. Then in America, which city are we? He said, Los Angeles. In the Los Angeles, which street are we? He named the street. What is the name of the building? He named the building. And Tamal Krishna was very intelligent. He could understand what Prabhupada is trying to tell him. In the similar way, there are many verses which are not actually meant to belittle you, but they are meant to humble you. And if you can humble down, then we become very dear to Krishna. In the 13th chapter, in the verse number 8 to 12, Krishna speaks of knowledge. He says, whatever elements I explain in those verses are knowledge. Anything out of this is not knowledge. And the very first one is amanitvam, humility. Amanitam, adambitvam, ahimsa, and so on. Beautiful, good qualities found in a pure devotee. And we can all acquire those if we go on serving Krishna wholeheartedly with our due respects to our authority, especially our spiritual master. These qualities can manifest in us. So it says here that in that particular prayer is meant to humble down, that we are asking Krishna, place me as an atom at your lotus feet. It's not that I become your associate or I become a servitor of your lotus feet. No, an atom at your lotus feet. It is very, very insignificant. And in front of Krishna, what to talk of us, all these big demigods which have been mentioned are all too tiny. Because later part of the verse also says that only Krishna is supreme, everyone else is his servitor. And the second line is says, the way he wants us to dance, we are dancing. And it is true. We are dancing in the 3 modes of nature. Sometimes in the mode of goodness, sometimes passion. Our nature is constantly wavering. So we should, by engaging in devotional service, we can be uplifted and come on the platform of devotional service. At least come on the platform of Brahma Bhuta. In the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it says, Brahma Bhuta Krishnatma na sochati na kakshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madha bhakti labate param. So if you come to that level, then at least you can serve the Supreme Personality. Brahma Bhuta means come on a spiritual platform. Give up the material platform. This message is repeated repeatedly in every book we read, whether it's Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, or even the lecture of Sri Prabhupada. He says, come to the platform, spiritual platform. Don't stay on this material platform. We are not this body. Why does he say you are not this body? Because mostly we forget the Brahma element, which is the spirit inside. And there's no way it can be, we can come on the platform, spiritual platform, without the association of devotees. If you stay in the association of devotees, you can be uplifted. So when you come on Brahma platform, Brahma Bhuta platform, then the whole understanding is different. If you have Bhagavad Gita, please read this, I think, 1854. Can someone volunteer to read it?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, you can read?
Okay. The translation.
Yeah, read the Sanskrit and the translation.
Okay. Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma na shochati na kankshati Sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me.
So if you want pure devotional service to Krishna, you have to actually come out of this material platform, bodily platform, remain situated in spiritual platform. In Narad Muni says, Sarva upadi vinirmukta tatparatena nirmalam Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate. It says, give up all this false designation of related to your body, you're connected to your body. I am a male, I am a female, I am this, I am that. This is my family, this is my property. And you carry all that burden on you. That's why it says, Sarva Upadi. Upadi means a burden. Whenever you're on a material platform, there will always be a burden. But when you're on a spiritual platform, there's no burden. So the secret of Krishna consciousness is that you live in another world, completely different world. Though you are living, for example, like we all, majority of us is in Kenya here, you will not be in Kenya, you will be in Vaikuntha if you are engaged in devotional service very nicely. And there's a verse which speaks in the 5th chapter, I think it's verse number 9, 5, 9. Somebody else can read that? Sorry, 5:10. Kritika Mataji, you have Bhagavad Gita with you? Okay, anybody else? No?
Yeah, I can read Prabhuji. It's
Yes,
Bhagavad
yes.
Gita 5:10.
5:10, yeah.
Brahmani adaya karbani sangam tyaktva karotiya lipyate na sa papena padmapatram ivambasa. Translation: one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Read the first line in the purport.
Purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Here, Brahmani means in Krishna consciousness. The material world is a sum total manifestation of the three modes of material nature, technically called the Pradhana. The Vedic hymns.
Okay. So here, Prabhupada gives two different situations. If you stay in the material world, it's a sum total of three modes of material nature. That means we are in Pradhan. But in Krishna consciousness, the word is Brahmani. Brahmani means Brahma Bhuta. You are not on a material platform. You are on a spiritual platform. And there are many examples given in the scriptures how devotees are situated fully in Krishna consciousness. Like in the first canto, if you remember, I don't know whether we have reached that, in which when Uddhava is asked by Vidura about Krishna, then it took some time before he came to the material platform and started speaking to Vidura. He was completely merged into Krishna consciousness. So that's one example. Many other examples given, like another example is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was visiting South India, he came across a Brahmin who invited him for lunch. And Mahaprabhu went for lunch at that time. The Brahmin had not prepared anything. And Mahaprabhu told him, you invited me for lunch. Where is the lunch? So, and the Brahmin says, he was already lost. And again, he came into this slightly before he came to the material platform. He said, what do I do now? Mother Sita has not brought any vegetables. There's no wood around. Lakshmana has not brought any things. How can I cook? And then he realized that he was in this material world. And Mahaprabhu appreciated his mood. So this is the kind of mood we are supposed to capture. To be with Krishna, of course, it's not easy. To be with Krishna is very, very difficult. So Prabhupada says it takes time It's not hopeless. There is a hope. As means a hope. You should remain as a bundle. In the 18th chapter of Nectar Devotion, Rupa Goswami is one of the qualities, one of the 9 qualities of a devotee is as a bundle. He keeps as. As means a hope that today I am not with Krishna, but tomorrow I will. I'll try better. I'll read more. I'll chant more. I'll remember more. I'll serve Krishna more. In this way, he comes closer to Krishna. And that quality is called Ashabandha. So if you become Ashabandha, you come close to Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that Krishna is supreme. And there are 4 sampradayas. And all of them accept Krishna as supreme, which all of you know. Brahma Sampradaya, Shiva Sampradaya, Lakshmi Sampradaya, and Kumar Sampradaya. Srila Prabhupada. So even till today, they are engaged in the service of Krishna. Any one of these is Sampradaya. So if you engage in the service of any one of these Sampradaya, you come to realize that Krishna is supreme. So they all have the same understanding that no one is equal to Krishna, no one is beyond Krishna. Krishna is supreme. And then is completely aloof from someone else, then no one can come even closer to him. So only Krishna is worthy of being called Supreme Lord. Well, that is what this verse says. So we still have time. There are many verses which declare Krishna as supreme. Can anyone quote which verse? Especially in Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita or Brahma Samhita. Many verses declare Krishna is supreme. Let's see how good are you.
Prabhuji, in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam.
Yes, very good. That's from Brahma Samhita. The opening verse says Ishvara Parama Krishna. There's nothing more than Krishna. Krishna is the supreme. Okay, let's go to Bhagavata. Of course, Bhagavatam, there are many verses. If you can quote only one verse. Many verses. The whole Bhagavatam speaks of so many verses which declare Krishna as supreme. So let's go to the verse in the first canto of the avatars when Vyasadeva says, Ete chamsa kalopamsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mrityant Yuge. The Krishna is all these incarnations which I mentioned, but Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, means is original. And whenever even Indra is in trouble, Krishna protects him in every millennium. A very powerful verse. Then anything in Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita, there are many verses. You can quote one of them. We should know all these verses, at least few verses, so that
Aham
we don't
Sarvasya
become
Prabhava.
Aham Sarva. Yes. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavam.
Matta
Then
Sarva Pravartate. Iti Matva Bhajante Mam Bodhava Samanmita.
yes. Still, anybody else? Krishna says, Mata Paratrananyat Kinchit Ashti Dhananjaya. Mai Eva Sarvam Bhutam Sutre Manigana Eva. That there is nothing superior than me. Everything is resting upon me, like the pearls rest upon the thread. If you see a pearl necklace, there's a thread holding the pearls. So Krishna is a thread which is going everywhere. And Srila Prabhupada explains that this thread can be seen even in a cloth. A cloth is made up of 2 kinds of threads, horizontal and vertical, woven together to make a cloth. In the same way, the whole world is woven with this thread. And who is that thread? Is Krishna. So Krishna is everywhere. Nothing superior to Krishna. And this month is the Purushottam month. In fact, the last day of Purushottam month. Krishna himself says this is supreme. There are a couple of verses in the 15th chapter. I can read them for you. Beautiful verses, almost towards the end of the 15th chapter. In the 16th, he says there are two kinds of beings, fallible and infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible. In the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible. But besides these two, I am, or there is a supreme, greatest living personality, the supreme soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them, and that is Krishna. In the 18th, Krishna himself says with his own words to Arjuna, because I am transcendental beyond the fallible and the infallible, because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in this world and in this Vedas as that supreme person. So here the Sanskrit is Purushottama. That's why this chapter is called Purushottam Yoga. In the 19th, again Krishna says, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is a knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. In the final chapter, he says, this particular chapter, if one understands, is a very confidential matter, which is disclosed to you, Arjuna. Whoever understands this subject matter will become wise, and all his endeavors will be no perfection. Means everything, any endeavor you undertake will become perfect. So this is Krishna speaking. Why this word is called Purushottama? It's Krishna's birth. So this 15th chapter, the whole entire chapter is giving you different things. In the beginning, it gives you Vairagya, using an example of the tree. Then it shows you how to surrender. After that, Krishna speaks of his abode. After that, Krishna speaks of us. Then Krishna says why we are taking so many different bodies again and again. And Krishna speaks of his energy that I am the sun, I am the moon, and I am the fire. And I am the one holding all the planets. And I am the one becoming the moon and giving the juice of life to all the vegetables. And then in the final verses which we just read, Krishna speaks about himself. So these are beautiful verses. One should have a habit of reading different verses daily, especially in this month. Of course, today is the last day. You still have time. You can read the 15th verse before you go to sleep. 15th chapter, I mean. It's also called Purushottam Yoga. Srila Prabhupada calls it the yoga of the Supreme Person. The Sanskrit name is Purushottam Yoga. Again, it means Krishna is supreme. So, this verse for today is speaking about that though we have many gods, 330 million demigods, but about them there's one supreme person. So we are not pantheism, we are not pantheist, we are monotheist. Then Krishna is supreme without a second. And he expands, even we are one of the expansions of Krishna. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Eka Bahusham. From one he became many, and we are one of those many. And we discussed this verse many times. Nitya Nityanam Chittas Chittanam Eka Bahunam Jo Vidadati Haman. That I am the supreme eternal, maintaining all the eternals. We are also eternals. We don't die. We keep changing body. But he is the one maintaining us. He's the one Chaitan, or the conscious person, giving consciousness to all of us. Very powerful verse. So all these verses point towards Krishna. And also the other verses like, whoever knows that I am supreme will be freed from all sinful reaction. This is there in the 10th chapter. Elsewhere he also says, I know the past, I know the present, I know the future. Who can say this other than Krishna? So after all, what is the meaning of all this? That first we should have a very strong faith in Krishna. Then becomes surrender to Krishna. And the faith increases by regular hearing, chanting, remembering, in the association of devotees. You may get little association if you are far from the temple or far from the devotee circle, but try to get this association so that you become closer to Krishna. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness. By associating with devotees, hearing about Krishna, then glorifying Krishna. Wherever you go, you glorify Krishna. Sometimes devotee asks, how do we preach? There are many ways of preaching. First one is how well you dress. A man especially, a male spirit, if he's dressed in dhoti kurta with a tilak, anyone who looks at it is going to say Hare Krishna. That is already preaching. Women very nice saree with a tilak on it. People who go to school, if they go with a tilak, then even the teachers know these are from the Hare Krishna. Then, if you have read Bhagavad Gita, maybe just one verse, and you tell others about that verse, you're already doing preaching. And if you are in love with Krishna, at least to a few percent, then you can't forget Krishna. You can remember Krishna all the time. And in this way, days and days will go, years and years will go, but you cannot forget Krishna. If you ask any devotee, how did you come into Krishna consciousness? Every devotee is a different story. Every devotee. And especially, someone will say, I came because I was given prasad. Someone will say, because I read the book. Someone will say, someone brought me to the temple and I fell in love with your deity. Someone will say, I have heard about Krishna. Many, many ways people, then those who become serious, especially you want to take the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, especially chanting of Hare Krishna, forget everything else. That person is destined to become a devotee. That's the definition given by our grand spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. He says how to recognize the devotee is one who is constantly chanting the Mahamantra. That's a devotee. He doesn't waste his time in useless, frivolous talks or gossip, but he fully remains in the service of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. Because the biggest advantage of chanting Hare Krishna is, in the due course, you'll realize that you are with Krishna. And there's no doubt about it. So these are the verses you should try to remember, we should try to discuss. Of course, the verse of Chaitanya Charita I already spoken. Ekala Krishna, Ekala Ishvara Krishna, Arasana Pritya. This is spoken by Krishna Das Kaviraj himself. So many, many scriptures, many, many verses. Even Krishna himself says, Vedise Sarvamaham Veva Vedya. Of all the Vedas, I am to be known. I am the knower of the Vedas, I am the complier of the Vedas. So who can be more than Krishna? Who can be superior to Krishna? Or who can be equal to Krishna? Not possible. That is what this verse is saying. In addition, some information the verse gives is, from his feet, the river Ganges comes, which purifies all the three worlds. In the upper parish is called Alaka Ganga, here is called Ganga. I don't know, even in the Patal she's there, I forget the name. If anyone knows, can speak. Ganga is also known with another name. So in the whole three planetary system, the river Ganges, or the river Ganga is there, purifying the whole world. And his words in the form of Bhagavad Gita is purifying the whole world. Hare Krishna. The time is up. Any additions, any questions, any suggestions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for today's class and especially for reminding us that there are lots of verses saying that Krishna is the supreme and we should try to memorize them. So thank you for giving us this homework. Prabhuji, I have one question between Brahma and Shiva. Prabhuji, you said that Brahma is Jeev Tattva, but Shiva is in between Jiva and so in between Brahma and Vishnu, or I didn't get that. Shiva is in between which and which?
Brahmaji is a jiva like us, but Shiva is not a jiva. Shiva is in between Jiva and Vishnu. So he's called Shiva Tattva. It's completely different. He's as good as Vishnu, as good as Vishnu.
So that
In
means
the
he's
Brahma
higher than
Samhita,
Brahma.
it is explained higher than Brahma, though he's son of Brahma, but he's more pure than Brahma. The easiest way to understand is if you take milk, the milk is milk. But if the milk is touched with lemon or tamarind, it's no more milk. It becomes yogurt. So yogurt is also called milk, but it cannot be called milk. It's called yogurt. Why? Because Shiva is he has a connection with the material world. That's why he's like yogurt. Whereas Vishnu is completely transcendental. He's like milk. This is the comparison Prabhupada gives. And also Brahma Samhita gives. I think Mataji gave the answer, Bhagavati. Yes, the Ganga is called Bhagavati in the lower planetary systems. True. Okay. Any other questions?
So in the analogy of milk and curd, Brahma is water then?
No, Brahma cannot be called or is not mentioned, so we cannot speculate. But Brahma is does not come in that. Neither of milk or not on the category of yogurt. No. He's Jiva Tattva. But additional attribute extra in Brahma is that his entire body is made up of intelligence. Very, very intelligent. There is no one intelligent more than Brahma in this material world. That is why he was given this huge task of creating different beings. And he did it successfully. And even before doing, he was praying to Krishna that while doing, please do not put me into illusion. And Krishna gave the benediction, you will not fall into illusion. You'll be able to do your task very nicely. Because he always considered himself to be subordinate to Krishna. We can learn a lesson from from him, that if we want to become intelligent, then we should always remain subordinate to Krishna and to Vaishnavas. We are always under them. Under them means never try to be higher than them, never. If you do that, you'll always stay in Krishna consciousness, always. It's very difficult to judge devotees sometimes. Sometimes devotees are there, we may think he's a useless devotee. Sometimes we say she's this and he is that and she. We try to compare, never do that. Every devotee is very special. Every devotee is doing some service of Krishna, which you will not be able to do, or which may not be in your capacity. And you also will be doing another service, which even they may not understand. So the general rule is respect all the devotees and remain good to all the devotees. Don't speculate and don't blaspheme devotees. Anyone who blasphemes devotees cannot chant Hare Krishna. That is for sure. Any blasphemer devotee will never chant Hare Krishna. He may be able to make big temples, collect a lot of money, become very famous devotee, but he will not be able to chant. That means he's not going to go back home, back to God. He'll return. And one who blasphemes the devotee is the most envious person. And Krishna says it very clear. We are just reading verse day before yesterday in the 9th canto, that such envious people, even they may be devotees, cannot come out of the cycle of birth and death. So you have to be very, very careful. Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Very good. Yes.
Prabhuji, can you please explain a little bit more about the Kumara Sampradaya?
Kumar, yes. The 4 Kumars, you know them, yeah?
Yes.
Sanat Kumar, Sanandan, all starting with S.
Mhm.
Now, these are the sons of Brahma who were created by Brahma. These are the first sons created by Brahma. And when they were told to create a progeny, and they refused, they say, we don't want to give up our brahmachari. Wow. And engage in this grahashta kind of a life, because we'd forget Krishna. or we'd forget the absolute. At that time, they didn't know much about Krishna. Then later on, by the mercy of Narada Muni, all four from impersonalists became personalists, Vaishnavas. And of those four, Sanat Kumar is the best. So from him comes one parampara known as Kumara Parampara. So they all understand the Kumaras, as per your question, are the sons of Brahma, but they are also devotees of Krishna, pure devotees of Krishna. Of course, before they were not. They were impersonalists, always meditating on the impersonal aspect of the truth, which is known as Brahma Jyoti. And when Narad Muni visited them, he asked them that what pleasure you get by meditating on the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, by chanting Om. They say, we see a lot of light and we feel so blissful. They say, how if I give you the origin of the light? He says, what is the origin of the light? And Narada gave them the Murti of Krishna. So, who is this beautiful boy playing a flute? He says, this is Krishna. He is the origin of all Brahma Jyoti. He says, but how do you worship? They said, just worship this statue, worship this form. And after 5 months, they were able to see Krishna. And when they saw Krishna, they completely forgot the Brahma Jyoti. Krishna was so beautiful. And later on, we all know that they actually went to see the Lord in the Vaikuntha. And because they had not practiced bhakti, they couldn't enter. There's some offense was done with Jai and Vijay. They could not enter, but the Lord came out to settle the matter. This is how the three comings of the demons came. Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and then Shishupal and Dantapakara. These are all Jai and Vijay. But there's a beautiful verse as they entered Vaikuntha. The first thing they could smell is the smell of Tulsi, which is coming from the feet of the Supreme Lord Narayan. And this is how the parampara started. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. But so Hare Krishna devotees follow the Brahma Sampradaya. Is that right?
Yes.
And the Rudra Sampradaya, I guess that is the Lord Shiva devotees. And then
They also worship Krishna. They also worship Krishna.
yes,
They are
and
not devotees of. They are not devotees of Rudra. Remember that. Rudra
okay,
parampara. Yeah, they also
and,
worship Krishna, but their acharya is Lord Shiva.
and for Sri Sampradaya,
Yeah.
so
Lakshmi Sampradaya.
so they worship Lord
They
Krishna
also,
as well.
yes, and the Kumars also worship Krishna.
Thank you
In all
so
four
much.
parampara, Krishna is the supreme person. It's not that those who follow Rudra parampara, they go and worship Lord Shiva. No, their acharya is Lord Shiva. Because Lord Shiva is the knower of Bhagavatam. He knows Bhagavatam inside out. He is constantly hearing Bhagavatam. What is Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam is Krishna.
Thank you,
Is
Prabhuji.
it okay?
Lovely.
So in short, all the four worship Krishna, but their acharyas are different.
Acharyas are different. For example, in our ISKCON, our Acharya is Srila Prabhupada, isn't it? Present Acharya. And if you go to Pushtima, their Acharya is Valvacharya. But Valvacharya falls in the Rudra Parampara. The Parampara is different. But still they worship Krishna. And we also worship Krishna. So, I mean, that Mataji is asking question. That is one example. That they come into the Rudra Parampara. Yet they worship Krishna only. There's another parampara, I think in the Nimbaka parampara, which is connected to the Kumar parampara. They speak the Mahamantra openly. For example, we speak the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. They speak the actual meaning. Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe. Radhe Raman, Radhe Raman, Raman Raman, Radhe Radhe. 16 words again. So that means they also worship Krishna. Sri Prabhupada mentions this in another lecture. Of course, we have to speak the mantra which we've been given to us by our Parapara. We don't change the mantra. But I'm just giving you a comparative study that they also speak that mantra.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there are no questions,
Are there any other questions or comments? If there are no questions or comments, Premila Mataji, are you able to close this session for today? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for this very nice discourse, very informative about Ganga Mata and Lord Jagannath. And we could read about them in the 9th canto. And Krishna is one without, he doesn't have an expansion, I think, without a second. He's one without a
yes.
second. And
Asam
his expansion,
Yeah.
his expansions are the Brahma Jiva, the Jiva Tattva, and the Lord Shiva, who is in between Lord Vishnu and Brahma. And it is an offense to think that the other demigods are on the same level as Lord Krishna. Even Lakshmi ji, we should not think that. And only Krishna can give moksha. And he was given that name Mukunda in this respect. And when we are chanting, we should chant in a very humble mood. And about the Brahma Bhuta, we need to come on the spiritual platform, and the association of devotees help with that. And you talked about chapter 15 of the Gita, the yoga of the Purushottama, and all the different sampradayas. And so thank you so much, Prabhuji. It has been a very, very informative discourse for us, so much information to learn. Mataji, can I please hand over to you?
Thank you very much, Pramila Mataji, for summarizing the session. Thank you very much. It just draws us to the various salient features that were discussed. I think it's a good exercise. We should be doing this every time. Let us all unmute and chant the Maha Mantra to glorify Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Pancha Kalpatara Pesha Sindhi Aditana Bhavne
Vaishnav Thakur ki jai, Shri
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Rukma Prabhuji SB.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Thank you, Pramila Mataji, for ending the session so well. Thank you.